I've never lost in the UK, amateur or pro, so I am excited. I love fighting for my friends and my family, and yeah, I think it's just be a totally different fight. So I think if you're going in there thinking it's gonna be the same fight, you're in for a rude awakening,
Leon Edwards is dude's won 13 fights in a row,
and
or has not lost in 13 fights.
One of the smoothest strikers ever.
Oh,
he's so smooth.
Belal Muhammad is just one of those guys. He's unrelenting. He comes forward. He's got crazy pressure, excellent wrestling. The striking's getting better all the time.
And then Tom Aspinall, I think he has the potential to do something really special in the heavyweight division.
And I think Curtis Blaydes is another guy who's been waiting for so long to get his shot as well.
Look, I just be focused on bringing packs in. They're like, what's on his hip? They know he packed in. Look, run up, tell him, run up, boy, I wish they would. Run up, tell him, run up, boy, I wish they would.
After International Fight Week almost a month ago, we finally got another UFC pay-per-view coming this weekend. UFC 304 takes place in England, where we see welterweight champ Leon Rocky Edwards defend his title in a rematch against Belal, remember the name, Muhammad, as the headliner. As well as this, we got another title match in interim heavyweight champ and England native Tom Aspinall go against Curtis Blaydes in a rematch. The most loved King Green is going against the most hated Paddy in a lightweight grudge match. Then we got Muhammad Mokaev going against Kape and Arnold Allen against Chikadze. This main card is stacked, so here in this video, I'll give breakdowns on each of the fights and see which fighter will come out on top this weekend in Manchester. Starting this video off, let's go over the fight that introduces the main card, which is Arnold Allen against Chikadze. Chikadze was once looked at as a great prospect that could potentially be atop the stacked featherweight division. His dynamic striking was something to fear, dominating fighters with stiff jabs and outstanding kicks. However, after 3 straight knockouts against guys like Edson Barbosa and Cub Swanson, Chikadze's hype train would be derailed by Calvin Kattar, losing this fight by unanimous decision. But he looks to be back in the winning column, beating Alex Caceres in his last fight. What Chikadze does so well is his outstanding striking, winning 9 of his 15 wins by knockout. But he's going against fellow striker and England native Arnold Allen. Allen was on a 10-fight win streak that included TKO wins over Calvin Kattar and Dan Hooker, before he went against the best of the best at featherweight. He goes against Max Holloway and is completely outclassed. Then he goes against Movsar Evloev in the beginning of the year and is dominated on the ground. But Allen is looking to get back on the winning column in this fight here. Allen is a striker just like his opponent, but is more of a boxer, not using his legs as much. He has tremendous power in his hands for a featherweight, absolutely putting opponents to sleep once he connects. He's always down for a good old-fashioned slugfest, so for how this fight plays out, I think it's going to be excitement from both sides. Both fighters like to throw first instead of counter, but Allen has a lot more power than Chikadze, so I see Allen winning this fight by knockout. The next fight we have is flyweight Muhammad Mokaev against Kape. Kape has had a roller coaster of emotions these past couple years with the UFC. After having a 3-fight win streak, Kape was supposed to fight Alex Perez in hopes of making that way into title contention. That bout is cancelled the day of the fight due to Perez having medical issues. The next fight Kape is supposed to have is against former flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo, but Figueiredo was unfit to fight, so they canceled that one as well. Then he gets to fight against former flyweight title challenger and rival Aikara France, but France pulls out due to a concussion. Kape gets a short notice win against Felipe Dos Santos, but all those cancelled fights that are supposed to put him in title contention frustrates him, saying this after the fight.
No one gonna do anything, you know why? All your teammates is a bunch of
Kape gets booked 2 more fights against Mateus Nicolau, but both are cancelled due to Kape not making weight in the first one and pulling out of the second one. Kape has had 1 fight in 2 years, but that's not to say he's not a great fighter. He has a great all-around game, being great on the feet and well on the ground as well. But he's going against one of the best wrestlers in the division in Muhammad Mokaev. Another native of England, Mokaev has been on a tear since he's entered the UFC, being undefeated in 6 fights. His grappling is world class, winning 6 of his 12 fights by submission. How this fight plays out, Mokaev will try to get close with punches and shoot for takedowns, while Kape will try to keep his distance. I think Mokaev will be too dominant on the ground against Kape and win this fight by submission. third fight on this main card is somewhat of a grudge match, with King Green going against Paddy Pimblett. King Green, who recently changed his name from Bobby, has been calling for this fight for a while now.
Paddy, how dare you? You slimy, sugary little snake. How dare you say my name? I'm coming after you. July, I'll come to your backyard with your people and kick your.
Now that he has this fight, he's looking to derail this hype train this coming weekend. What King brings to the octagon is all action. He's primarily a striker that loves to put on a show and bring the fight to his opponents. He's been very vocal about other UFC fighters having wrestling first styles, specifically saying they're not fighters, so he will not try to take this fight to the mat. However, he's going against a grappling heavy fighter in Paddy Pimblett. Pimblett was once looked at by the UFC as the next cash cow, somebody who they can put on a pay-per-view and the event will do numbers. His first 3 fights were great indicators of that, but his next 2 fights would say something else. He would have a fight against Jared Gordon, and to everybody watching that fight, it was obvious Paddy lost. However, 3 judges saw something completely different, giving Pimblett the win by unanimous decision. Instead of being humble about this gifted victory, Pimblett took the path of arrogance instead.
I'm making the winner, Paddy the Baddy. Paddy, that was a close one.
No, it wasn't. That wasn't close. You just consoled me in the fight. But know what, Joe? Have you consulted me manager and see how much you're paying me for this interview? Hey.
This started the villain arc of Pimblett, being hated by almost every MMA fan as his confidence became arrogance. He would be booked another fight against Tony Ferguson, but would disappoint in that fight, not being able to dominate a 40-year-old Ferguson that's on a 6-fight skid. Pimblett's ground game is very good, but his striking is very reckless, leaving his head open a lot when he throws. King Green, being the better boxer he is, if he could catch Paddy when he throws those reckless shots, he could win the fight by knockout. But as Paddy likes to say,
You know me saying, lad, I'm a scouser. We don't get knocked out. Hey, I take that all day.
I think Paddy is going to grapple aggressively and win this fight by submission. Now we get to one of the title fights that are happening this weekend in Manchester. Interim heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall is going to be defending his belt against Curtis Blaydes. Now, fight fans understand how messed up this fight is, but if you don't, let me explain it really quickly. Interim belts in the UFC are used when the undisputed champion is unable to compete. Jon Jones, the undisputed heavyweight champion, was unable to fight at UFC 295, so Tom Aspinall stepped in on short notice and knocked out Sergey Pavlovich to win the interim belt. How this is supposed to work is Aspinall is supposed to fight Jon Jones next in order to unify the belts. But the UFC are so interested in making Jon Jones against Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight championship that now we have Aspinall defending an interim belt, which makes no sense at all. If the current heavyweight champion is unable to compete, then the interim title holder is then promoted to undisputed champion. But Dana White wouldn't dare take the belt off Jon Jones, so now we have this mess of a fight happening. Now that we're caught up, let's get to reviewing the fighters. Tom Aspinall is arguably the most complete heavyweight in the UFC, being able to do it all. He can stand and strike with the best of them, as shown in his last fight against Pavlovich, and he can submit anybody, his last submission being a straight armbar against Alexander Volkov. Aspinall has the fastest fight time in the UFC, having an average octagon time of 2 minutes and 10 seconds in each fight, so prepare to see action as soon as the bell rings. But he's going against the guy he took his last loss against in Curtis Blaydes. Blaydes is known as the best heavyweight wrestler in the UFC, averaging more than 5 takedowns per 15 minutes. But just because his wrestling is a strong suit, doesn't mean he can't stand and strike. He has finished 13 of his 18 wins by TKO, being willing to stand and strike with anybody. How this fight plays out, Blaydes will look to shoot for takedowns early on, while Aspinall will try to land a knockout shot within the first couple minutes of the fight. I think Aspinall lands one of those powerful shots on Blaydes trying to come in for a takedown, and will win this fight by knockout. Last, but certainly not least, we got the fight we're all here to see. We have a rematch between the UFC welterweight champ Leon Edwards going against Belal Muhammad. We go all the way back to 2021, where we saw these guys face off in the main event of a fight night. In the first round, Edwards was easily winning this fight, landing good, clean shots on Belal. But the second round comes, and Edwards pokes Belal in the eye, and is unable to continue, so the fight is called a no contest. Muhammad has been on a 5-win streak ever since that no contest, beating high-level guys like Gilbert Burns, Stephen Thompson, and Vicente Luque. But unfortunately for Belal, he's just so boring that the UFC tried so hard to not give him a title shot. He's predominantly a wrestler, usually winning fights by control time and takedown. It's rare for him to finish a fight, with only 6 of his 23 wins finishing before the bell. But now he's finally getting his title shot against one of the best fighters in the world in Leon Edwards. Edwards has been atop the welterweight division ever since he knocked out the pound-for-pound king at the time, Kamaru Usman. He defended his title twice since then, once against Usman and once against Colby Covington. Edwards is a dominant striker, using kicks to keep his opponents away. He's more of a counter striker, waiting for his opponents to make a move and throwing punches and kicks accordingly. How this fight plays out, it's going to be a snooze fest. Belal will try to grab Edwards for most of the fight, while Edwards will piece him up from the outside. I think Edwards will do a better job at staying away from Muhammad and win this fight by decision. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. All that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.